But that being said, we talk about this a lot in Jimmy's band with the rhythm section and such. There's a level of concentration, not because I'm worried about making a mistake, but only because I want to sing the note or play the phrase or what have you to the best of my ability that night.
Yeah.
I don't go through it mindlessly with my mind wandering because we've done it 1,000 times. I'm concentrating so I can give the best performance that particular evening.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals.
Yes, it is.
Mostly.
That's right. So I got to ask, starting off with a fun question. Would you rather have all traffic lights you approach be green or never have to stand in line again?
Never have to stand in line again.
Really? I get hit with red lights all the time. That's a good question, though, right? Made you think.
Yeah.
Well, that voice that you hear is Mr. Steve Nieves.
Thank you for pronouncing it correctly.
Thank you. I heard it because when I was rehearsing for the gig, I took your version at the Franklin Theater. It was one of the local performances of Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah.
And when you go off in the middle of the song, Roger comes in. He's like, Steve Nieves, everybody. Oh, my goodness. Did people mispronounce your name a lot?
Well, yeah, because it doesn't, on the outset, it doesn't look like it's Spanish, which it is.
Because it looks like it says Nieves.
I was Nieves all through school, and my dad was Nieves all through the Navy.
Right, because, it's almost like a Portuguese spelling, I believe.
It's Puerto Rican.
Puerto
so
Rican.
It's Spanish, and it means snow and or ice cream.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it actually that, organic snow and or ice cream?
Yeah.
Or it's snow or ice cream?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, man. I'm glad I said it right away.
You said it great.
But it's one of those things that, I got introduced to you at that Franklin Theater show. I don't think we met that day, but I was at least introduced to you from seeing you perform with the Huey Tribute Band.
Yeah.
HueyTribute.com, I believe, is the website. So they're called the Heart of Rock and Roll. I played a couple of gigs with them back in May, as did my brother. A lot of fun.
It was that long ago?
It was May 20.
May already.
May 28th. And then the 31st out in the Georgia gig.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good thing if it seems like a long time ago.
It just tells me how fast this year is flying by.
We're in August tomorrow.
Yeah, amazing.
Isn't that crazy? But at the Franklin Theater show, which was years ago now, you have a presence on that stage. From performing with the sax, your voice and everything. Just the good feeling people, I think, get from your presence on stage, constantly smiling. Just kudos to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. But that's hard earned, and you have a lot of experience doing that. So
most of that is just out of sheer enjoyment.
Yeah.
And certainly part of it for the Heart of Rock and Roll show is it's theater. We want people to have a good time, and we're just not going to stand up there and play the songs. We're trying to reenact the enjoyment of a Huey concert back in the 80s.
Yes. And it's that being one of the gateway bands that got me into my own music.
Yeah.
Literally Sports was one of the first albums I got on my own. It was actually a birthday present, but it was my album.
Right.
That and the Ghostbusters soundtrack, as well as Van Halen 1984. But listening to that album, and it's funny because I didn't even choose it. I think somebody got it for me. For my birthday. It might have been my 8th or 9th birthday. And you pop it in. I got my new radio, my boombox.
Oh, yeah.
And you listen to all these songs, and even then it's like, I know that song. Oh, I know that song.
Right.
Well, and then my brother got into them because, he's a keyboard player, piano player.
Yep.
And he started getting into the one that came out afterwards, the second one, Sports, and then,
4, I think.
4, that's right.
Honestly, I didn't own any of the albums because I was playing their music, whatever was hits on the radio, in my club bands.
Right.
And so that was, I just played what was considered the hits at the time. And it wasn't part of my record collection, much like it wasn't for Roger, our Huey vocalist.
Yeah.
But I was still very aware of him. And I had the same sensation when I went to learn the show. I'm like, oh, I know that song. Right. I know this song. And it turned out to be like over half dozen songs I already was very familiar with.
My wife and I did that one Saturday. I think we were just putting music on. We were doing a bunch of different things around the house. And we just put on a Billy Joel playlist. And you start, 2 hours in, it's hit after hit after hit after. And I was telling somebody when I was working in radio at the time, and I told them this exact story. I said, you never realize how many hits Billy Joel has had. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Same thing with Huey.
There's a handful of artists whose repertoire is really extensive like that, and you realize it. So any show that you go to in the middle or the peak of their career, or even afterwards, it's all hits.
Yeah, yeah, and they could stack an entire 2-hour show with them. Yeah, yep. Some of them are a little bit deeper. I mean, but I think from a musician standpoint, songs like "Walking on a Thin Line." Gosh, why am I spacing on music?
Well, I didn't realize that Jacob's Ladder was a number one hit. Like that one was unfamiliar to me.
Yeah.
But from a strictly musical standpoint, they were all great as I listened to them and learned them. Loved them all. Yeah. Still do. That's why the show is vibrant. We're in our 13th year, the band is, and none of us are tired of it. It's fun every night. Being that they're not putting out new material, you're not having to learn new things like you are in a cover band. There's only a set amount. I still don't get tired of it. There's a lot to pick from and to switch out, but the bulk of the show is all terrific stuff. And what a variety, right?
Variety of musical styles as well. Because as a drummer going into it, I developed such a deep appreciation for Bill Gibson.
Yes.
That guy needs a lot more accolades and a lot more appreciation for sure. Very underrated drummer.
I agree.
A lot of the guys back in that day were probably, he might have been outshined by, the Tommy Lees, even Alex Van Halen wasn't getting his due back then.
I agree. He's underappreciated.
Completely. I think he's getting more appreciation now. Yeah. I think people are realizing, oh, wow, he really did carry a lot of the weight of that band, even though a lot of the spotlight back in the day was on Roth and, of course, Eddie.
Yeah.
And more so on Eddie once Sammy Hagar came into the band.
Yeah.
But I think Al was just always, he never spread himself out, though, either. That's all he only wanted.
Stayed in that situation.
Yeah, that's it. And even after his brother died, he was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Which is sad because he's good.
I don't know about the history of Alex, as you probably do, but I was surprised to find out that Bill didn't come from the academic side of drumming. No. He was the kind of guy who just learned how to play. I think maybe his father taught him some stuff, and he learned by being on the gig. But he's rock solid, and he's very creative with his parts and with his fills. His tempo is extraordinary. Yeah. And he's part of the writing team. So
did you see him here recently?
No, but as you know, Tony went there and got him to sign our drum head so that when we put it on each kit before each show, we got Bill's signature on it.
There you go. Yeah, I was able to meet him at the Music City Drum Show that weekend.
Nice.
Somebody said that he came in, and I was like, where is he? He's like, oh, he literally just went that way 2 minutes ago. So I went off, and then lo and behold, I found him. That's walked terrific. Up to him. He was talking to somebody. I didn't want to bother him. I said, hey, excuse me, Jim McCarthy, you were on Rich Redmond's show with me. He's like, oh, yeah. I said, can I get a picture real quick? He's like, sure. So we took a picture, and I said, don't want to bother you. We're over in that booth. If you want to come by and chat, please do. And I just left him alone.
That's great.
Yeah, he's a very down-to-earth guy. When we talked to him on Rich's show, the Rich Redmond show, therichredmondshow.com, plugging, and he said something about, like right now, he's actually taking drum lessons.
Right. I remember reading that in the recent interview.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
He's 73 years old.
Well, that's the sign of a musician who knows there's always something more to learn.
There's an old saying, when you're ripe, you rot. When you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. Ah. And, he's green. Yeah. You got to appreciate that.
Yep.
Because even when I was preparing with you guys, I had a lot of challenges because I hadn't played a show. I haven't played a show like that probably ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last time I really played diligently like that was in a cover band in the 90s. Right. And we did all the top 40 hits and stuff like that. I was at the top of my game at that point. Yeah. But, got into radio, other things took, the drumming took a back burner and stuff like that. So I still kind of played around with the drums over the years. But when I went to a Music City Drum Show, probably about 3-4 years ago, all of a sudden it rekindled. I was like, oh, I need to do this again. Because it was joyful for me. But man, you can build up some rust.
I think you would agree with me that every household should have a drum set in it somewhere.
Totally. Well, you come in here and you see practice pads out by the front door and one right behind me. You see it right there. But that's kind of like, well, hey, if it gives me joy, that's what I'm running to at this point in my life.
It's interesting to me that you mentioned cover bands.
Yeah.
I spent the majority of my career, certainly the first half of it, playing in cover bands. I was doing that since I was 17. I love cover music because every night you're playing 50 different songs from 50 different very popular artists because you only play the hits, right?
Yeah.
So you're learning the best music at the time. And that variety, both instrumentally and vocally, prepared me for being able to get to what baseball would say the big show,
Right.
you know, and get to play with the major artists that I've got to play with over the second half of my career. It was incredible experience that really paid off.
You have some pretty cool accolades just leading up to that. I mean, you've got quite a resume, you know, especially in the 70s, 80s and stuff like that. I mean, you came out of high school, it seems, and just kind of went right into it with some heavy hitters.
Well, no, it took a while to get to the heavy hitters, but I went right to full-time work playing music 5 nights a week all year long for years and years and years. And a door opened in the early 2000s to start touring with some artists. I definitely have to give kudos to my wife for pushing me to make that phone call because I was comfortable as you get when you're working, your calendar's full. Why do I want to, try to step out on something that may not pan out? Yeah. That's what your insecure side tells you.
Yeah.
She told me, you pick up that phone and you call that and get that audition going. And that opened up a whole other door for this last half of my career, which has been awesome.
And the funny thing is, I'm not going to say you're old. You're not old.
I'll say it.
No, I don't think
I turned around as this meme that I shared the other day. I turned around and it was 1975. All of a sudden it's 50 years later.
Yeah.
So it happens.
But the thing is, dude, I thought, when I first met you, I was like, you told me how old you were. I was like, dude, really? You look fantastic.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. You got great hair, great skin. You look youthful. I probably look older than you.
That's my Puerto Rican blood. I thank my mom and dad for that.
But looking at the resume here, you were on some Motown recordings and stuff like that. You were Dave Mason. You appeared on some of his stuff.
Yes.
Alongside Steve Winwood.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a big name and, a lot of different things. 80s and going into the 90s, you've done a bunch of things. But like you're talking about, I guess the Loggins and Messina happened early in the millennium.
Yeah, that was 2005.
Yeah.
And I got in there at the 11th hour. I had a regular job in Orange County, Southern California, where I lived most of my life. And we had a great band that would play every Wednesday night. And we had substitutes, as you often have. And one of them happened to be a drummer, John Farrar, a local guy who moved in circles with some of the Hollywood elite rock musicians from the 60s and 70s. So he was aware of this Loggins and Messina reunion. Playing in clubs, I'm not going to really hear about that kind of stuff. There's auditions for so-and-so's tour and all that. I had no connection to that kind of stuff. So one evening when he was subbing for us, said, "Hey, I just heard that the Loggins and Messina are going to have a reunion tour. You'd be perfect because of your multitasking." So he gave me a number, and that was the one that my wife said, "You better call that number."
Yeah.
And I literally got in at the 11th hour. They were at the end of their audition process. They were up in Hollywood at a large soundstage, bringing in 2 people at a time to audition at different spots. And I got a slot at the very last minute. And then when I walked in, the drummer who was auditioning was a good friend of mine who played with me in the clubs and stuff.
Nice.
So immediately there's a super high comfort level.
And someone who's going to champion you.
Yes. And I was prepared because they sent me a CD of stuff to kind of review and learn. And that's just part of a normal thing that I would do anyway, is just be as prepared as I can. Yeah. And it went really well. And my takeaway from that audition, which I learned from talking to other pros who have gone through the process and gotten on tours and stuff, is who you are as a person, your personality. They're looking at that almost more than the skill level, because they're hoping that the skill level is there for anybody who got that far to be able to be auditioned. But it was during a break where I was just chit-chatting with Jim Messina that I really felt the comfort level really rise, because I got along with him really well. And that has continued to this day. He's like a big brother to me. He's a super kind soul.
Yeah.
And he's been very, very good to me and my family. But that's when I realized, certainly you have to have the goods musically and all that, but you got to be able to get along with people. And they look for that because there's only 2 hours of the day that you're playing
really
music on
working.
stage. The rest, how are you hanging out in the bus? How are you hanging out in the hotels? Are you dependable? Do you show up on time? That's the really important stuff.
It's attitude.
It is.
Attitude all day long, even in the studio.
Yes.
From what I understand, I've never pursued a career like that. But again, knowing Rich like I know, his big thing is like, look, you better be a good hang.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you're welcome real quick.
Yeah.
With a lot of that, you talk about being prepared, and I'm going to reference this a lot because that's our connection.
Yeah.
Gearing up for the shows that we did together, it was about a 3-month ordeal for me just to kind of shake off the rust, really start internalizing and getting the muscle memory of all the stuff. This way, if you have a little bit of a brain fart, you know where your muscles know what's next, which is a thing, and I hadn't done it in such a long time, but I was so committed. I'm like, I'm playing with some, heavy hitters that are here in Nashville. People know me from a podcast.
Yeah.
They don't really know people here don't know how much of a drummer I am.
Right.
Up until that, we did that. So I'm like, but I got a lot of work to do. And I must have played that show umpteen times, forwards, backwards, left and right. And
that's
everything.
how I prepare. I mean, of course, you had that extra added thing of kind of knocking off the rust, so to speak, because you're not doing it regularly. Endurance. But for every show that I'm involved in, like I got one coming up in Nashville at 3rd and Lindsley with the Steely Dan tribute band, 12 Against Nature. That's on the 17th, a Sunday.
Of August?
Of August, yeah.
Nice.
And the band is full of, it's run by Scott Sheriff, local keyboardist who plays with Carrie Underwood. And there's all these wonderful Nashville heavy hitters in the band. But when it comes for stuff like that, I look at it like you do. I want to be prepared to the point where I'm not worried about the execution of the music. I can then perform better. So to hear you say you spent 3 months really just tooling it and playing it over and over again, that's my method too.
Yeah.
Over and over, letting it sink in, getting under the fingers, muscle memory. That way the performance itself is a lot more enjoyable for me because I'm not scared or worried about mistakes.
I would imagine that you guys, because we never played together. We never performed. We never practiced. The City Winery was our first shot.
Yeah.
So getting up there, setting everything up, making sure, I have to reacclimate to sound check and what's going to sound good. And, I'm using apps I've never used before.
Right.
Everything's being thrown at me. And nerves were high.
Sure.
Before that. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. I was like, okay, am I going to do this? I'm making notes and everything. Am I thinking of everything? And then what happens during the show? Do you remember? My ears went out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, stuff like that. Those are the factor X we call it. You never know when that stuff's going to come about.
And I think it happened to Roger too. Like he and I all of a sudden lost our ears. Right in the middle where I think it was Scott and I were locked in trying to do that little New Orleanian shuffle thing between a couple days off and Boys Are Back in Town.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to him to listen for the cues because it's like, hey, you got to hit certain things. Okay, he's going here, even though we're not doing it exactly how we remember it. Then all of a sudden, I don't hear him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my ears are done. I'm looking at the box. There's no LED lights on it. I'm like, my business partner was in the audience and I just literally just batted my headphones off just so I could hear the band.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm playing raw. And I'm going, okay, so we don't have a click track. Pretty much runs down, and Boys Are Back in Town anyway, so I can kind of dial that in. I've got that memorized, but what are we going to do for New Drug?
Right. Yeah.
I can't hear a click. We can't play video.
Sometimes that stuff happens. Yeah.
It's like Roger just kind of he's like, "Are you out too?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
But that was sheer memory.
Yeah. And that's when instinct kicks in. You go, well, what do I need to do at this moment to keep moving forward?
And I got to be honest with you, and hopefully you can give it to me. I was so looking for criticism just to get better. Nobody gave it to me. Like even my business partner, who would be the first person to say, "You were good, but," I went to him. I said, "Okay, give it to me." He's like, "Dude, I got nothing. You lost your ears. We couldn't tell."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah.
I said, "There had to have been something. I screwed something up. I know I did." And, so with that being said, did I screw anything up?
No, because that kind of stuff is common. We had an incident like that just this last run. We were up in the Pacific Northwest, and during one of the shows, during the first song in one of the shows, we got the count off and the drummer was not hearing the click. Oh. So we went through the first song without click and got through it. And then we had to take an extra minute or two before the next one
recalibrate
to get
Yeah.
That's just, that's the nature of the business. You never know. Surprises come.
But I got to tell you, when the second time we got together, we played Woodstock.
Yeah.
I was all confidence. I was like, I know exactly what to expect. And that was a fun.
That's when it's really fun. Yeah.
Yes.
When you yourself aren't worried about your part that you have to bring, that you know you got it down.
Right.
It's super fun.
And plus I got a chance to look at all the videos and stuff like that people sent me. And I'm like, okay, I need to work on my look. Because it's like I have a giant head to begin with. And, I kind of had like the balding thing. I'm like, I need to wear a hat. So I brought the scally. I'm like, the scally's a good look. That was a good look.
I'll tell you what, the other special thing about that show, your brother was fabulous.
Yeah.
He's a terrific musician.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that you and I talked about siblings and stuff like that and being able to play with them.
Yep.
That's one of the things that he and I have been actively talking about, just saying, okay, we got to do something.
Yeah.
And it's time, before it gets too late.
Yeah.
And he's kind of in the process of a transition. Hopefully, I'm praying that he'll land here in Nashville.
That would be great.
Because, it's like, he doesn't have to do what you typically do to make a go of it in Nashville, like a new person would.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you've got leverage. You've got a successful attorney gig.
Yeah.
You're able to make money. You can go out and kiss babies and shake hands at night and hang out during the day and do your thing. Whatever you need to do with briefs and stuff like that and make a good amount of money.
Right. It takes away the struggle that just someone starting from square one would have to deal with.
Because he's always wanted to play in like a touring band and play like big arenas and stuff. And I said, you got to get down here, man.
As I told you, I completely understand the symbiotic relationship that happens with playing music with a sibling.
Yeah.
I grew up in a musical household. I just had one brother, who's 5 years older than me. And he started at age 6 and was up and running very quickly because he just was very skilled. And we both went through the school system, knew how to read and stuff.
And he was a drummer.
He was a drummer.
Yep.
And my dad was a part-time drummer. He loved it. He would do it on the side, but that wasn't his vocation. But they were huge supporters of both of us. And by the time I hit 17 and graduated high school, my brother Gary was already working in San Diego with all the best bands in town, and took me under his wing and brought me into the fold. And we did a lot of stuff together and had a brothers band, Nieves Brothers Band, with some of the best players in town. And that was priceless. To be able to do that on a weekly basis with your sibling is wonderful. And we kept that up until I left town for other opportunities.
Yeah.
Then it became a little more infrequent that we could play together, but we still did it up until the time of his passing a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that. Yeah, that
was a surprise, and everyone was astounded, as was I.
Yeah, yeah. So start with that. Back in San Diego is where you started everything.
Yes.
And tell me the story. How did everything kind of progress throughout, and how'd you get to where you are now?
Well, as I had mentioned, our parents were big fans of music. None of them played, but they went to shows. They loved music, concerts, local club bands, stuff like that. And I know with my brother, I think it's probably the same case for him as it was for me. I don't think he said, "Mom and Dad, I want to play drums." They just got him started. Mm-hmm. We were a Navy family. He was stationed. We were stationed in Italy, where I was born, in Naples, Italy. And he got lessons there and just continued on, never stopped. Same with me. We had settled in San Diego, and my dad came home from a trip overseas with the Navy, and he brought me a saxophone. Like I had no idea that I would want to learn an instrument or anything.
And how old are you?
I was 6 at the time.
Oh, wow.
And he brought it home, and it was alto. And it looked beautiful, and I went, yeah, I'll do this. This looks like fun. But as a little kid, because I was a little in statures, I still kind of am. I had to sit in a little chair about 8 inches off the ground because I couldn't hold it around my neck. I had to set it on the floor. So I didn't really start with the first lessons until I was 7, when I could actually put the neck strap on and hold it. And I took private lessons from a couple of gentlemen in town. And then once I got into the school system in elementary school, like 4th grade, where the orchestra would come through, I started doing that. I went through the all school system all the way through high school, playing in the bands and in the stage bands and the marching band, all that kind of stuff, while studying on the side. Eventually in high school, I had a teacher who was more of a jazzer and a professional saxophonist in town. So that's when I started to study more intently John Coltrane and Charlie Parker and the jazz lexicon, stuff like that. But I just never stopped. And I actually, for 60 years, I've never stopped except during the COVID shutdown. That was the only time I put my horn away in the case and didn't touch it for a month. Oh, wow. Because I went just to try to find other work to keep food on the table and stuff.
What'd you do during that in order to do that?
I started stocking shelves at a local Walmart supermarket.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? You'll do what you have to do, man.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of friends of mine, you probably had a lot of friends too, that just went to the woodshed and started writing songs and, working on stuff. But for me, I was so deflated that overnight, a year's worth of bookings disappeared overnight. And just kind of looking at the state of the world and this confusion that was happening, I wasn't in that kind of frame of mind. Well, let me practice during this. I was like, what are we going to do? It's a huge question mark when it's going to end.
Yeah.
And when they were starting to talk about moving into 21 also shut down, then my wife and I had to look at what's the reality of our maintaining our great stellar credit and staying, paying our bills. So that's when we decided to put the house on the market. We left the state, came to Tennessee. And it was the best decision for me at the time. I knew people here. I made phone calls. I knew at least a baker's dozen of professional musicians here. So I knew when the world opened up, I'd have opportunities.
So you were in San Diego.
I was in Riverside. We had moved up to Riverside, my wife and I, and had started a family, and our kids were grown. We only had one living with us at the time.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be the smartest move, though it was hard to leave family. And we left a brand new grandchild. That was the hard part.
And they're still out there?
They're still out there, yeah. So we're here on our own. Yeah. Aside from friends that we have here, that's the only thing we miss is it's a major ordeal to travel back like I'm going to do next week to visit friends and family. We know it. I mean, we're going to get back to your history as well. But when our first big move, Courtney and I, was from Connecticut to Las Vegas. Why'd you go there? Radio. Oh, okay, yeah. So I was in radio for about 13 years, and that was our big adventure, big first adventure. And then Vegas to here. We've been here since 2005, What was your feelings of Vegas, the city, aside from the work that it brought you? What was your opinion of living in that town? It was fun for the time we were there. Yeah. We didn't have kids. We were married. We literally were married 11 days after 9/11. Oh, yeah. So I worked for a news talk station out there. We were there for 3 months. Courtney had gone back to Connecticut to get ready for the wedding. And I was due to fly back, shortly before the wedding. So I had been like bacheloring it for a month. Yeah. And it was one of those things that brand new town, brand new adventure, getting used to the West Coast, looking at menus and seeing other restaurant locations in California, Arizona, and Nevada and going, holy crap, we really are far from home. Yes. And it's like so disconcerting, but we got through it, and man, we grew because of it. Yeah. But the city was, it was fun, we knew we didn't want to raise a family there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they have pop-up strip mall shops where you can go in and get a divorce. Yeah. I spent many, many times there as a musician, flying in and doing jobs and stuff. Yeah. But for me, I was not drawn to the gambling and all that. So I was just music. That's great there. Yeah. A lot of stuff to see, but I would go in, make a very good paycheck, and then leave. So did you ever happen to play with Clint Holmes out there? You know Clint? I know Clint, and I've seen his show before. I happened to do a private event out in Palm Springs one day, and he was special guest on that. So I met him personally at that time. But yeah, I never heard of him up until we moved there, and you'd see his face on because he was the headliner of the Harris. Yes, and he had that typical lounge singer, white teeth and everything like that. And we would just kind of laugh. So the weekend before Courtney was supposed to go to Connecticut, we're going to live it up, go out and have a good time. We're not going to see each other for a while. So the radio station was able to get us tickets to his show and something else. I can't remember, but his show, we sat in the front row next to women. I think it was their 9th time seeing him. Yeah. And they were just talking about it. And Courtney and I are looking at each other going, are they serious? Hats off to him, because he's one of a handful of people that you'd never hear about outside of the city, but carved out a great career for themselves in town. Yeah. Because in order to have that kind of residency at that level of hotel, you have to be a really good entertainer, and he was. But I have a kicker to the story. As we were making fun of the women next to us who saw him 9 times. Yeah. Over the course of us being in Vegas, because he melted our faces that night. Yeah. We probably saw him like 11 times over 4 years. Yeah. People would come to town like, oh, Cirque du Soleil. Those are great shows. And said, let's go see this guy if we can. No, he's the essence of the kind of level of entertainment that you want to see in a city like that. Remember the Shintas? Oh yeah. Yeah. I had a friend who was keyboardist for them. Yeah. They're a good band. Yeah. They're a really good band. It was, him, the Shintas, who else? It was kind of like on that kind of a level in Vegas. Earl Turner was down in Laughlin. Yeah. Yeah. It's a competitive city. So for people who have locked in those gigs, it's because they're really good at what they do.
Yeah. He was always just a gentleman. One of his famous stories was when he's got one hit that came out in the 70s. I think it's Something in the Sun, or it's like, my name is Michael, I've got a nickel shiny and new. And that was his hit from the 70s. Wow. So he jokes about having a hit medley consisting of one hit.
Yes.
And he says, and the people laugh. He's like, and the kicker to the joke is like, oh, how many hits do you have? He goes, yeah, I did that one time. And, I'm so bad with names now. Someone of significance was in the audience.
Yeah.
And she goes, 37. Oh, man. I can't remember her name. It'll come to me.
But one hit is more than most of us have. So
yes.
It's
absolutely.
still worth a lot.
A lot more than I have.
Yes.
Does your garage door sound like this? If it does, it's screaming for help. Call Incredible Doors, 931-348-DOOR. We're making garage doors in Murray and Williamson counties work better and sound better. We just make them incredible again. Go to IncredibleDoors.com or call 931-348-DOOR. Follow us on Facebook for specials on maintenance visits, keypads, and other items. 931-348-DOOR. IncredibleDoors.com.
So you're in San Diego. Did playing the saxophone come naturally?
Yes, I think that's why I stuck with it. I clearly had a knack because there was I don't recall any struggle. I vividly still have the memory of the very first day that I had the elementary book to start in, the very first page, and how much I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And I'd call my brother and, hey, Gary, listen to this. Doesn't this note sound like a bass note? It's like the middle of the alto horn. It's not very low.
Right.
But I think that is the turning point for any young person who's going to learn an instrument. If you know that you can make it work and it sound decent, you're going to keep going. Otherwise, you're going to get very disillusioned and probably give it up. Right. So since it worked for me, I kept juggling riding my bike. Being in Little League, I thought I might want to be a Major League Baseball player. That was never going to happen. I love dragsters, building models. I thought maybe I'll be a drag racer too. Everything seemed possible to me at the time, and saxophone was just one thing in my mix.
You had a lot of identities at that age. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, your brother being a drummer, I always knew the first time I saw MTV, I might have been 6, 7 years old. And I saw somebody, it was like an overhead camera shot of somebody that's going off on the snare drum, leading into a fill. And I was like, that's me. Yeah. I knew it instinctively. And my brother had been playing piano since he was about 5 years old, and he had that identity. I didn't really have a musical identity yet. Yeah. And my mom asked, well, what do you want to play? I said, I want to play the drums. Oh, they're too loud. You know what? You need to play the saxophone. I like the saxophone.
You're kidding.
So I played saxophone for maybe 4 months. Wow. But that was about it. A Selmer.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
The rental.
Oh, wow. That's terrific. I didn't get a Selmer till 9th grade. I'd already been playing for 7 years by that time. So my parents one Christmas said, my mom later told me, I put a down payment on a small Yamaha Enduro motorcycle and a Selmer saxophone. And she kind of had me pick, and I picked the sax. Probably the best choice. I loved the idea of riding a motorcycle in the field, but
did you do like radio-controlled cars or actual dragsters?
No, I built models and loved the whole idea of dragsters, but I never drove one.
So like the models you find on a shelf in a toy store kind of thing?
Yeah, the kind you put together with glue and paint, put on your shelf.
Yeah, and you paint them and everything.
But I was fascinated with cars. I thought they were cool.
Yeah, because that was one of my identities was RC cars when I was probably 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, built them. And
I'm talking about the 60s and 70s, so I got a couple of decades on you.
Right. Yeah, I know. The technology was still a little dated when I did it, but still probably more advanced. So going from there, high school and everything, college?
No, my college life was, I think, 2 weeks at a community college, and I very quickly just knew this is not my path.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a really reason to be here. And I got a gig around that time with friends of mine in a local band. A friend of mine was the original saxophonist in this local 8-piece horn band, and he was leaving. And so they gave me a call. That was it. Off and running. Loved it. Did it for a year while I had a day job, like in a electronics factory that made circuit boards. Juggled both of those at the same time, but I knew right then and there, oh yeah, this is my path. My brother had already made a living out of it. My parents knew that was kind of our path. They gave us, as their generation would, the speech of, well, have something to fall back on. But
Right.
in my mind, that you're kind of planting the seed of failure if you do that. I'm just like, I love this. I'm good at it at this level. I think I want to keep doing this.
It's a burn the ships mentality.
Yes, absolutely.
It's and it's something that's the opposite. We had the same kind of thing told to us, and my brother is more than convinced now that if I had given it a go with music, he says, knowing me as I know myself, I would have made it work.
Yeah.
He says, but I got, my father wanted him to go into business school. He got a BBA and stuff like that. And then he, found a little bit of a passion in law, but he still kept his doing his thing with the bands he's in. He's been with a Journey tribute for 15 years now, and a Bob Seger tribute, about the same band basically. But he's been able to at least work both of those passions.
Absolutely. When I talk to young kids or parents who are at the show and have a young son or daughter with them and say, yeah, my kid plays, I definitely say to both of them, keep it up. It doesn't have to mean that you want to go into it as a profession, but to be able to play an instrument and play music is such a vital, important part of a person's life who has the talent to do it. You'll always have a way to use that gift.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it for a living to make a paycheck, but that should be a part of your life if you can.
Can you tell the people that you've come across in your circles that you've run in, those who are just God-given talent gifted with their instrument versus those who are trying to be good at it? Can you tell when they play?
Yes. And certainly the biggest stars that I've had a chance to work with and been blessed to work with, they had an innate gift, but they also kept working at their craft.
Yeah.
And learning and trying to be the best, striving to be the best and be as excellent as they can. That's the key.
That's what I appreciate about Eddie Van Halen. That guitar was like an organ.
Yeah.
It was a part of his body. And his studio was a testament to his tinkering ability, because he would take them apart and rebuild them, try out different things, different technologies, pickups, whatever.
Yeah.
I have no idea really how to play a guitar, but I can appreciate that.
Yes.
Because he just sat and worked at it and fiddled around and noodled and everything like that. One of the guys we had on Rich's show probably several years ago was talking about, he had the opportunity to jam with Eddie at 5150 Studios. And he says, it came to a night where you kind of felt like you were overextending your welcome and, okay, there's the door, go ahead. He's like, we were the warm up for what he was going to do after we left.
Yeah.
So he would sit there by himself and he was all warmed up because he was playing with us. And I guess he would noodle till like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
By himself. I'm like, that's dedication. That's just a God, like a divine kinship to an instrument.
And that's certainly the next level of drive that some people have. A lot of the best, what you and I would consider the virtuosos on their instrument, when I read about their history, almost all of them were driven to the point of, as you said, wake up playing their instrument before they go to school, come back from school, did their homework, but we're constantly playing. That's a level of drive that I didn't quite have. I wasn't moved to practice 8 hours a day. I practiced to learn what I needed to execute on my bands and on my jobs and stuff. And just inspired by other, like the people that I listen to on records and stuff, the Michael Breckers, the David Sanborns, whoever, inspired to try to reach that level, but not to the point where I didn't have a social life. I got married, I had kids, I tried to have more of a rounded life. I was interested in the other aspects of life other than trying to be the ultimate best saxophone player that ever lived.
Right.
My hat's off to those guys that I look up to who play at that level, because they did put that much extra into it. But I'm pleased with where my life has gone and the things I've been able to do while I built a personal life at the same time. Very grateful for that.
It's almost as if people would like a lot of the bands that you perform in, whether it's Messina, the Huey Band, all the other the Steely Dan thing, people probably come out to see you as well. Because if you're well known, especially as you're getting well known around here, I mean, you're playing, was it one Saturday a month at the restaurant in Columbia as well?
Oh, when I'm in town, I have a Thursday and a Saturday at Tequila's there in Columbia, and I have a Friday at Mezcal's Cocina, also in Columbia. And they're nice enough to let me have that revolving door, and I'll send them people in my place if I can. But it's just there waiting for me when I come back. Right. That kind of stuff is very helpful. You might look at it as backgroundy because there's no flashing lights. It's not, I'm on the stage entertaining. I'm just playing in the corner of the restaurant. But it's good for me to just keep the chops up, keep playing my horn, to keep singing when I'm not, you know, touring. And I enjoy it.
We got to come check you out when you're doing that one of these days.
Yeah.
Do you notice, like, when did you start doing that?
The first year I got here in 21, I had a lifelong family friend who had already lived here in Tennessee for a number of years. And I'll tell you this, I had heard from friends of mine who live here in the Nashville area saying, oh, you could go into a restaurant and say, you need music here, and they'll hire you. He actually did that. He lived down the street from Tequila's and came in one afternoon. It was a pretty new restaurant, and said, you guys should have entertainment here. And
I know a guy.
Exactly. I'll do it for you. And he started it up. They happened to need somebody for a Cinco de Mayo he couldn't make. So he said, I got a friend who can do it. And that's how I got my foot in the door. And they enjoyed what I did. So they kept me on.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so have you noticed an uptick or crowds coming back to see you over the years when you do that?
That particular place is surrounded by hotels. So a lot of their clientele are people coming through Columbia, coming through town and staying at the hotels close by. There's about 4 at that exit at Bear Creek. So there are some regulars, definitely some regulars who I see come in whenever I'm there. And then I just meet a lot of new people who are traveling through town. And for that situation, it's variety for me. I'll play a lot more country than I ever did back in California. I used to play a lot more jazz back there, which I still play my sax a lot and some jazz stuff, but a lot more country, a lot of Mexican stuff because I like to play for the employees. I don't speak the language. I understand the language.
Right.
And I definitely sing it.
Right.
It's fun for me, so I'll get the lyric and learn it and learn a lot of traditional Mexican stuff for them. That's fun. But just doing the solo thing, I've been doing it since 2010.
Yeah.
It's great extra income, but it allows me, as I said, to keep the horn in my mouth, to keep singing, vocal cords going, and to learn new stuff and play my favorite stuff.
Right. So it's just you, a sax, and your voice. That's it.
I'll bring my congas for anything that's got Latin and just turn around, swivel around on my chair, my drum stool, and play congas while I'm singing. It's fun.
All right, we got to check that out.
Yeah, you got to come out.
Yeah. You know, if you ever need a drummer.
Yeah, you bring your gigantic kit with the rack and set up right next to you.
I was thinking more like a cajon or something like that. I've got the djembe and stuff like that. I can bring that out. With moving forward with what you're doing, what's on the horizon for you?
Well, I'll tell you that I've been doing this thing with Jimmy. He finally was able to build an all Nashville band, which he wanted. He had been bringing guys in from West Coast and the East Coast, terrific guys, people that I've worked with and know from when I lived out there. But he told me when I told him I was moving here, he wanted to build a rhythm section that was Nashville based, so that he could call him, at a moment's notice, let's rehearse, let's work on some stuff. So we have found the lineup that lasted, where we all got along and it was the right fit. And we've been running it for the last 3 years. He's having such a good time. He's 77 now.
Yeah.
But he loves touring. And I think as long as his health allows him to, he's going to stay out there because he loves it. He's still got his creative juices going. So what we did last year is recorded a lot of the live shows and put together a live CD, which he's released. Now he's having such a good time. He's wants to do an brand new music studio album, which we'll record at his home studio. And he's encouraged us all to submit material and work together as a band, coming up with original stuff.
Nice.
So that'll be happening over the course of the next year. In between, tour runs, we'll get together with him at the house and write a new album's worth of stuff to release.
You got it. Yeah, I love it when I hear like what seems to be very healthy band cultures.
Yeah.
Because I equate them to company and corporate cultures, which I think we've all been a part of. We know what the good and bad look like and stuff like that. Bad cultures will teach you what not to do when when you're doing
everything's a learning experience.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And we just had a guest on yesterday on Rich's show. His name is Jay Weinberg. He's Max Weinberg's kid.
Huh. Does he play drums?
He plays drums. He played for Slipknot for a decade. He's playing for Suicidal Tendencies, and he was on the Metallica tour and stuff like that. Wow. And he was sharing stories about, I'm like, gosh, what's it like to tour with Metallica, right? And he says, it's really kind of fun. Of course, you're with these legends on stage, and you're sharing stories with them, and you're developing relations, and probably, dare I say, becoming friends with them. And a lot of these people, he says, even to the point where like Easter would come, and we did a big Easter egg hunt with the crew and the other bands and everything. And the guys in, the upper echelons of Metallica were providing the prizes. I'm like, that's really cool, man. Because, it's like they don't have to do that. But the notion that they do that speaks volumes, because a good culture, especially in a tour, everybody's got to get along. Yeah. I think whenever you have a good culture in any of these organizations, the end user, the audiences, they pick up on it. They know. Absolutely. They know.
Certainly with the Huey band, the tribute band, the first thing that people say is, you guys look like you're having fun. Jimmy's band gets that a lot too, because you know what? We are.
Yeah.
I've been blessed that going back at least 25, 30 years, each band that I've had long durations with, we all got along great. And that continues to be the case in the things I'm involved with now. There's nobody that we would consider a wrench in the works.
Yeah.
We all get along great. And that's the key to longevity, and also the key to positive productivity, and for us to enjoy ourselves, and the people can see it, they enjoy themselves.
And that's important.
Yeah.
Spending money for a ticket, they're spending money on food and drinks and everything. It's you have to make sure that you convey energy, good energy, fun energy out to the crowd.
I think it's probably also easier for me now because we're all of pretty much a similar age, give or take, a handful of years. So all the craziness and foolishness is not in the picture. We're not druggies, we're not alcoholics. Everyone has a good time. We love similar things, and we can laugh. Driving hours from one city to the next on the road, that's where the fun is.
Right.
We'll joke around. We share meals together and stuff. That's where the camaraderie is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that my brother and I definitely want to do something and keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Culture is a big deal.
I know the word that our young bassist always tells us. There's no shenanigans in the band.
Shenanigans? Jay? He was very encouraging. He came here and played with me and Tony would observe mainly. I think Jay just wanted to make sure we could lock in and stuff like that, not knowing me from Adam.
Jay's terrific.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed playing with him, and he had good constructive criticism and stuff like that. Okay, I'll work on that.
Yeah.
Because back once upon a time, shenanigan times of life, I wouldn't take direction.
Yeah.
I thought I was at the top of my game, and it's like, I even to the point where if I was in a cover band playing Enter Sandman for the umpteenth time, it was like, oh gosh, I don't want to play this anymore, and that would show. Yeah. And my brother told me one time, he says, look, it doesn't matter how many times you played this song. You got to play it like it's the first time they're hearing it.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. I mean, we've spoken about how you want to get off the page, to get off reading charts and stuff on a gig quickly so that you can perform a little better. Yeah. But that being said, we talk about this a lot in Jimmy's band with the rhythm section and such. There's a level of concentration, not because I'm worried about making a mistake, but only because I want to sing the note or play the phrase or what have you to the best of my ability that night.
Yeah.
I don't go through it mindlessly with my mind wandering because we've done it 1,000 times. I'm concentrating so I can give the best performance that particular evening. And that's how I approach every show.
As self-reflective as I can be, and I think that's a virtue, I think that's a good thing. I look at, being my age, having the breadth of experience with playing the drums or even doing this and stuff like that. I really do try to stay green. And just because that's how you're going to grow. Yeah. With a lot of that being said, going into, having different influences, Rich being one of them, and his ferocity in his playing, how he puts his body into it and he dances when he plays. Yeah. I started to absorb it because I never did that. I was more of a Neil Peart, right? Yeah. Neil was stiff and very methodical and logical because he had to be. Right. Where what we're doing is like has a lot of groove. Let's have fun. When we're playing Trouble, let's lean over and really get into that shuffle. You know what I mean? And a lot of that kind of stuff, I started adapting from Rich and then pulling from my brother saying, look, it doesn't matter how you think the song should have been played. on the record. What matters is that you play it how it was played.
Yeah.
Which is the challenge. And the Huey thing was like, oh no, we do it this way. Like in New Drug, they like to have the fills come down in the, you know, when you're doing the, you know, and I'm going, but that's not how it is on the record. And that's the way I practiced it, you know, but listening to it, to the ability to kind of flex your muscle and the empowerment that they give in the band is kind of cool, you know, but also having in the back pocket that you want to play the song, how it was performed, you know.
Well, being a tribute, we do try to focus on how they were either performing it during the 80s or how the record was. There are areas where we made it a little more individualistic for the band, or maybe areas where I might be able to solo a little more in my style. But generally speaking, because it's a tribute, we do look at the minute details and try to capture that.
Yeah. My brother, he just instilled in me, he's like, look, of all the drummers I've played with, drive the band.
Yeah.
Just drive the band. You're the driver.
That is the key seat.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people, I would go out and we would see gigs around town here, you know, go to Fozzie's and see a band. And I feel like I'm channeling my brother because I'm getting frustrated. I'm looking at them, drive the band. Just kick their ass, drive the band. You know what I mean? Is that something you guys like? Do you guys thrive off when you have someone who's just, okay, this is what we're doing, let's go?
It makes it's like an unspoken thing. It makes it easier for the band when you know the drummer feels solid.
Yeah.
And then you're not worrying about the tempo or any breaks coming up or whatever. It puts an ease upon the rest of us.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's like we learned by listening to the original record, right? Or a recording. So and that's how I practice. So if it's that strong when we're on stage, I know everything's going to be all right.
Mm-hmm. From the business side of things, in the music business and what you do, how do you approach it? Do you have like business acumen and understanding of spreadsheets and income statements and balance sheets, things of that nature at all?
I don't, because I haven't been in the leadership position. I know it's a lot more intensified for Roger running the thing, that he has to think along those lines. And I've worked for other band leaders who wear all the hats, and my hat's off to them because it's a lot to do. And I get to think only about the execution and the artistry part of it. They're thinking about the business, the hotel rooms, the travel, airfares, all that stuff, right. Dealing with club owners and producers and stuff like that. So it is easier in the sideman position. Maybe subconsciously, that's why I didn't really push for the solo career. I had a solo record back in the late 90s, and I would have gone down that path gladly, but that's just not where it ended up going. And I ended up being more of a sideman and a group member. Yeah. And that was fine for me because I can give 1,000%. And that's just the path I've been on for the last 30 years. As much as I'd love to have a second solo record or beyond that, I have plans to do stuff like that. But being a working musician, my bread and butter has been a part of a team.
Have you seen like some of what these kids are doing on social media and stuff with their instruments? You have a lot of kids that are coming up through the ranks as social media artists. Yeah. You know, one in particular comes to mind. He's a sax player, and he made a thing out of adding saxophone to songs that don't have them. Ah. And I think he's like Swedish or something like that, but he got like a pretty good amount of acclaim. Yeah. And he would go into like a stairwell where you can get the natural reverb. Right. And play along to like, you know, Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson. Mm-hmm. And when it came up to a break, when they did something, he would add saxophone. Yeah. And you'd listen to it. Oh, wow. And you go, well, that's really good. That almost like the song was missing that. But he does that on a whole myriad of songs. What are you doing social media wise, if anything, that you're kind of working on for a personal brand? Well,
even as you're telling me that, I'm thinking someone who's doing that, because that's a new kind of job for kids, is content. You have to keep doing that. Yeah. So he's probably getting really good at it. Me, I have no desire to be thinking about what can I put on my next post, you know, to get viewers and earn money that way. I'd much rather be out there in front of an audience playing.
Well, in and of itself, though, you can get content just from playing. You know what I mean?
Suppose.
Little snippets of you doing your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I have not spent a lot of effort, probably I should, on just social media in that regard.
Well, maybe we need to talk offline because I think I believe in you, and I think that that would be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah,
because it is nothing. It's a lot of fun to watch somebody who's doing what they're meant to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Talk about your faith because I know you're very big on it. How did that begin?
That began. Well, I've been a believing Christian for 36 years now. My wife and I came to faith when we were like 30.
Yeah,
and I can look back prior to that, being in a business meeting with some people about our investments or something, or getting involved in, investing some money for the future. And this guy came from a kind of a Christian perspective, and that resonated with me. So I think the Lord had it on. He knew the time when He would draw me in, and I would understand what it is to be biblically literate and to be a child of God and to have a huge focus, the most important part of my life focused on that. I can't imagine not being like that now. I can't imagine going through life and all the crazy stuff that we're living through without a faith in Jesus Christ and biblical truths and stuff. That's a grounding that I think I wish everybody had, and that's what we pray for, because that's where answers lie.
When it comes to that, what do you think your gifting is?
I try to be an ambassador. I mean, gifting and talents are two different things. Mm-hmm. We all have a talent of some kind. Gifting would be what can I do in the kingdom to help bring people towards Christ, and just even focusing or thinking about God. So for me, it's just trying to shine the light, whether I'm performing or just hanging out with people. I don't spend my days proselytizing to everybody, but it's there. And if I'm drawn to Christians and other Christians, because there's a kinship there that we can build off of to help spread the light around the world.
Yeah. Be the light in the darkness.
Exactly.
Zorro, the drummer?
Yes.
He's back in town.
Why? Was he a Nashvilleian at some point in his career or life, and then left?
He was. He lived up in Brentwood, I want to say.
Got it, yeah.
He moved from L.A., he lived here. I did a couple of different projects with him for video. And then he ended up moving back to L.A., and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
He just recently moved back again.
That's fantastic.
Ardent Christian. Like, I had lunch with him one time, and he's like, hey, I'm going to pray over you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You know, we're in the parking lot up in Cool Springs.
Yeah.
And I needed to get back to work and everything. And he started putting his hand on my back and just started talking, praying. And we're both with our heads bowed. And about 30 seconds goes by, and probably a minute, then 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And I'm like opening one eye, looking around, and, he's still going.
Yeah.
4 minutes, 5 minutes. And I'm just going, okay. We're like, people are looking at us right now, and he knew it. He finished up and he looked right at me. He's like, and that's how it's done. He's like, I don't care what people think of me. I only care what God thinks of me. And I go, dude, respect.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the big draws for my wife and I, when we were trying to decide where in the country is best for us to land, we certainly needed someplace where my area of work, music, was prominent. So this was one of them. But this is the Bible Belt. And there's so much more Christianity and music married with Christianity, a lot of Christian musicians. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
There's the manners here in this part of the country is wonderful. That's not present at all in California.
Or the Northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very blue areas and very worldly areas. Here, it's grown-ups to little children. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Can I help you? Do you need a ride? So, I mean, the manners and the caring of other human beings is huge in this part of the country. It's beautiful.
We got to make sure it stays that way.
Absolutely. They told us, don't California or Tennessee. I said, don't worry about that. My wife and I said that, but we're going to try to Tennessee, California when we're back there visiting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they certainly, they could use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody that you know that might have been, was California affected by the earthquake and the tsunamis that happened last night?
Not that I know of yet, but we got our eye on that because something like that can certainly reach the Pacific Northwest. It's a little closer, certainly to Russia where it all happened. So we're praying for the people in the islands, Hawaiian Islands, and where else it might be affected by what's rolling our way.
Yeah.
That was very sad.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was supposed to happen over last night, I believe, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
You know, some people reported some of the water receding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, where can people find and follow you?
Well, I have a Facebook presence. That's usually where I'll post what's going on in my life. I don't really put up a lot of calendars. I don't have a website. I haven't done that since you had to know DOS to put that up. I had my young teenage son at the time take care of that. But I mostly have a presence on Facebook. I like to watch a lot of music on there and share fun stuff and try to stay positive.
I love the fact that you're sending me drumming videos.
That stuff kills me. Is it me or like there's something in the water? There's so many amazing 6, 7, 8-year-old kids playing drums and other instruments.
Well, because, you know, it's so different. Back when we were coming up, I had to listen to a cassette tape.
Right.
You know,
I had to listen to a record and lift the needle up. That's how I learned stuff.
Drummers couldn't listen to records, though, because it would knock the needle around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
So I would listen to a cassette, and, you know, when I started getting into Rush and Neil Peart and stuff like that, one of the songs, Subdivisions, was a great song. And he would do something in the beginning of that song where I was like, what in the world is he doing? Which a lot of the stuff that he did was those confounding moments.
Yeah.
And I saw a video with him actually doing it on it was the music video for Subdivisions. And I'm like, oh, that's what he's doing. And that's how you had to learn the parts and grow your, now it's just.
Oh, the resources are amazing now.
Oh gosh, it's everywhere.
But I've loved drums my whole life because it was in my house. The drum sets were in my house. My parents let us keep instruments set up in the living room and have band practice in the living room. Drums are wonderful. And I think every kid should have a chance to play them. I have kits at home. And when my brother passed away, I brought a couple of his wonderful kits back here to Tennessee. So eventually I'll be able to set them up and start messing with Rat.
No, I mean, well, wherever we land with our business, if we need room to put them, I mean, by all means.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never opposed to playing.
How many kits do you own?
I own the one.
Oh, the one, yeah.
And because that was actually, Rich was nice enough to give me one of his kits.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to get back to playing an acoustic kit. He was like, oh, you know, of all the stuff you've done for me, and I got this one laying around, and it's a beautiful kit.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. But I just added on to it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At some point, I want to get like a good formal, like part of my business at the Music City Drum Show is to kind of sit down and actually start shopping.
Yeah.
You know, Yamaha is kind of in the lead at the moment because they're just a great drum.
Yeah.
Solid, tight, great drum. Well,
Absolutely.
awesome, man. Thanks for coming out here. We finally made it happen.
Yeah.
Been a wonderful conversation.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So everything's going to be in the show notes, guys, as usual. And, of course, mmtbp.com. If you want to find us, follow us, share the episode out if you got anything out of it. Steve is such a warm soul and a great guy to be around. So if you liked what you heard or if you're a fan of his, share the episode. Spread it to the world. He's a great guy to get to know. And, of course, like I said, all those things will be in the description. Steve, once again, thanks for coming out.
My pleasure.